is up, everybody? You know who it is. It is your allies behind enemy lines, Ryan and Joey, holding it down for our Washington football team, thoroughly behind enemy lines. I'm here in Dallas. Joey's down in Austin, holding it down, like I said, thoroughly behind enemy lines in Cowboy territory. We are in full speculation season. Before we get to all that, make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube if that's where you're watching us. Ring that notification bell so as soon as we drop this, you are notified, and you're already watching it because you were notified. Make sure you subscribe to us anywhere you listen to your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Go ahead and like, rate, subscribe, review, download, all that stuff. So again, as soon as this heat drops, you feel that phone heat up and you know you got it on your phone. And you're notified as soon as you got this. Like I said, we are in full speculation season. Cuts are happening left and right. We have a couple signings, big time signings. Well, one really big time signing in division that kind of changes the outlook on our team a little bit. Not the outlook, but maybe just takes an option off the table. But before we get into all of that, Joey, how is speculation season starting for, or at least going for you? I know you said today you've just been locked in NFL Network 24/7, reading everything you can. Just trying to find out what the hell's going on.
Yeah, well, it's a crazy time. It is a feeding frenzy going to be for free agency as they drop that official cap number this week, and people start getting cut, and so I'm doing well. I mean, I'm ready for spring break. It starts next week, which also means daddy daycare starts next week, as spring break also means the closing of my daycare. So it's really like spring unbreak, as I've said before. But hey, it'll be good to spend some time with the kids and really see, then I'll really get, without work next week, I'll really get to see just between juggling kids and not to see what's going on as all these names start flying off the board.
Yeah, names will be flying off the board just as there's a bunch of names flying onto the board. A bunch of guys getting cut, not getting re-signed, getting released. Just recently, we saw Kansas City release both their tackles, Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher, former #1 overall pick, which is quite confusing. Was confusing to me because we saw how in the Super Bowl how Patrick Mahomes was running for his life without those two guys. They didn't have Mitchell Schwartz for the majority of the season, but they definitely didn't have Eric Fisher and they missed him, and so that's what was so confusing about that move. But those are two names I would, if we were going to go after one of those guys. Eric Fisher is the guy that I would prefer just because he's a little younger, and he plays that left tackle spot. But yeah, so like you said, there's just so many names that are out there, so many guys that are available that maybe you didn't think you were going to be able to get your hands on at this point in their career. All sorts of things. So like you said, the cap, they finally set the number. It's at about $182.5 million. So I think that puts us right around $40 million in cap space, if I'm correct. Last I checked. So if I'm not, check me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the number I saw and was reading. So, we have the sixth most cap space amongst all the teams, which is great. If you have any cap space, you're pretty happy right now. But to have as much as we do, there's a lot of stuff going on out there, and obviously you got to save some cap space for your draft picks. But as far as free agency goes, we've been talking about it, moves we want to make, positions that we need addressed. So now that we've already set aside our mock draft, we'll revisit that in the coming weeks as things start getting rolling. We saw Northwestern's pro day yesterday where Rashawn Slater and Greg Newsome, who two guys that were mentioned on this show, really tore it up. So chances are I'm seeing Greg Newsome go between 25 and 30 now. So he's probably not going to be there in that second round at 51. Rashawn Slater might be a top 10 pick now. So a lot of things could be changing when it comes to the mock draft. But now free agency starts. We're going to get into specific names now that we have a good idea of who's out there. There's still more to come. There's still going to be plenty more cuts to be made between now and Monday. But now I think you'll see the legal tampering window starts on Monday, so you can start talking to other guys and start putting together deals. But we're going to get into names specifically that we want to attack and get after. So Joey, why don't you, unless you have anything to add, go ahead and jump in here and lead us off.
Well, it's not very surprising to me, just to start off with something you said earlier about Kansas City cutting, both their tackles. When you pay your quarterback $500 million, there's gonna be some names that aren't gonna be on that team, and then you go right ahead and you lock up Travis Kelce for a long-term deal as well. I don't know how much money they have left. I don't know. It's gonna be them too. I think it's gonna be like, again. a lot like the Seahawks were just Bobby Wagner and Russell Wilson, and a lot of interchangeable faces for many years. And I think that, and then this going on with what you kind of alluded to with the Dak Prescott, big signing in the division. You're going to see same things happen like that with them. You already saw a bunch of their players restructuring their contracts, but that was just on the offensive side of the ball. The Dallas Cowboys. I think they listed their top defensive players on obviously their defense was not very wasn't a top defense last year, but the top performing players on that defense are all free agents next year. They're talking about the safeties, the cornerbacks, Alden Smith, their best pass rusher. So they're not going to look the same either, and they're going to be more casualties to come. I don't even know if Gallup makes that list anymore as well for their receivers. So there's going to be teams, there's going to be people out there because of the low salary cap, obviously lower salary cap, and the higher demands of these players and wanting these big contracts. So there's going to be, the list of names is going to have to be realistic, and it's going to have to be people that we know are going to make an impact on our team. We're going to have to be worth that bang on their buck, because if you're going to spend, you got to make sure you're spending it right. As far as the positions of need, we talk about that, and I think we're on pretty much the same page, and I think that kind of was echoed in our similar draft strategy. Is just we're drafting for things that we think we need in our team, and right now it seems like the offensive line is the most plentiful thing that you can get in free agency as of today. We're talking about guards out there. Andrew Norwell. I know we've already been linked to him. I mean, you're talking about you get him on the other side with the Sheriff. You're talking about a wrecking of guards. You're talking about a runner. Now I'd almost say go get another running back and just just do. Run the ball every play and control the clock and have that defense lock it down. Exactly. Who cares? Just have Logan Thomas back there running some freaking wildcat, and you just have some big brutes, and just go sign all these offensive linemen. Sheesh, it's looking more and more like that's gonna be the availability. I know Trent Williams has talked about being a free agent. He's one of the top free agents, but it looks like they're working on a deal. Because he alluded to some comment like, if you've been thinking, it sounds like you're barking up the right tree or something like that when asked if a deal was getting worked out with him in San Francisco. So I'm going to go line, and again, Orlando Brown I think is going to be the biggest name that obviously after the Trent Brown trade that's going to be on the free agency market, and someone that's going to be a solid impact Trent Williams type player for us for many years to come. And I think if you have the opportunity to get someone like that, you do it. And I already know Ron, the way he's been talking about, you're not going to mortgage your future, but someone like that, you're going to be able to sign. I'm not going to, I don't know if he's going to he's going to market top dollar, but he's going to be giving you top dollar performance, and that's what we're going to expect out of someone like that. So right off the bat, I'm talking linemen, and I'm talking let's get Andrew Norwell, let's go out there and let's get Orlando Brown, and let's have a top five. That's a top 3, top 5 line right there.
Yeah, no, the options, like you said, are plentiful. And, to one of your points about as far as the length and the amounts that you're going to be signing guys, I think that this year guys might be willing to take, maybe like a 1 or 2 year deal worth less money than they would, because, after the new TV deal money kicks in, they're going to have, I'm assuming, more capacity at the stadiums this season. That cap is going to shoot through the roof. That cap might go over $200 million, in the coming years. So if in the next year or two, so if you take, maybe a 1 year deal with a 2nd year option or a 2 year deal, that's just some quick, easy money. Guys might be willing to do that, because if they can hit the open market again, when that cap goes way up, then they're going to be in line for some bigger contracts. So it could go one way or the other. The older guys are probably going to try and get their money now. The younger guys, like I said, they're probably more willing to take the risk of, hey, I'll play under a 1 or 2 year deal and play my chances of the cap going back up to where it would be if we didn't have, a COVID year and things like that. So, it could go one way or the other. You could get, you could catch lightning in a bottle and sign a guy for one. I think, a lot of the teams that are in win now mode, that's probably the route that they might try to go is capture that lightning in a bottle for a year or two with somebody on like I said, a lower number contract that they wouldn't take in a normal year, because like I said, they'll become free agents again and be able to re-up for a little bit more money. But if we're going to the line, a couple of names you mentioned, I'm absolutely down for. Eric Fisher, he was making $12 million for Kansas City. Don't know how much I would want to pump in that $12 million. He might be a guy that you might try to take on a 2 year deal and see if you can get him around 9 or 10. doubt he's going to want to take a pay cut after, being in the Super Bowl back-to-back years. He's going to, kind of like what we talked about with Levante David, and a couple of those Bucks linebackers, that they were gonna come at a Super Bowl price because they just won a Super Bowl,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I
Mm-hmm.
think he kind of falls under that umbrella. But there was one other fellow that came to mind, and I had my notes here, and I clicked over the tab, so I wish I wouldn't have. I mean, you mentioned Russell Okung, but again, 33 years old, $13.25 million last year. A little steep for guys, but I mean, they're like you said, the names you mentioned. I'm more Zach Banner. That was who I was going to go to. Zach Banner, tackle from Pittsburgh. Not a bad tackle. He's only 28. Last year made 1.75 million. So if you're paying him around 3 or 4 million, I think that's a pretty good deal for a guy that had some good production for the Steelers. And again, a guy that's you can kind of rely on to not make the big time mistakes, and he's gonna know the job at hand and come in. He's not gonna be a guy that has to learn. So that's one guy that comes to mind off of the other three that you'd mentioned. But yeah, you bring in those three, and I mean, we're looking at, like you said, you're looking at one of the best lines we've had in a long time. I won't say ever in disrespect to Hogs, but one of the best lines we've had in a long time.
Yeah, and or the Hawks 2.0 we had had a few years ago, which was they did kind of get to we lost a couple guys there, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's and with the crop of playmakers we're talking about, when you're talking about going after or really swinging, as Ron's as and we know Ron's not scared to, as we've heard, it's come out now that he was in on the Stafford deal, he was in on the Jared Goff deal, we know last year he was after Amari Cooper. So we know that Ron ain't scared to go out there and get somebody that he wants. So and then he's been quoted as saying just yesterday, I believe, or the day before, that he's already got people locked in, and he's not going to tell you who they are because it'd be tampering. But he's already got people he's going to swing for and swing for fast. When that time comes. So I'm hoping that some of those names are on that list. But when you think about the crop that's out there right now, and you got to take into account that pick that you have at number 19. Again, with both of these things, when you go after a free agent and with that first round pick, especially at 19, you want two things that are coming there as instant impacts to your team. So when you think about, as we start to watch and you start to do these mock drafts more and more, it seems like these linemen are kind of sliding out of that 19th range. And now you're looking back and having to go maybe to Texas, and they're trying to get ranked, with the hometown hero. I've got the guy's name here out of Texas, who's, I think like 25, ranked 25th, 26th right now. But again, then you're caught right in the middle of where other players could be more available. You get a tight end right there. Maybe Pitts falls right there. So there's so many things that could happen based upon what you do in free agency. And I know me and you have talked about, not on camera, about Hunter Henry or possibly maybe Jonnu Smith will get a lot cheaper. But players like that can come in. So again, whoever we can get in this free agency and knock that out, that pick becomes so much more valuable. Even possibility as a trade thing to trade back and get more picks back in the second round or something. So this free agency, you can check a lot of these boxes, and we all know the quarterback position, the dubious position that we all need to know about. And we're not. It seems like we're not going to get an answer unless it comes in the form of Sam Darnold. I know Marcus Mariota has been rumored to getting cut. I know you hate that name, but it's just Cam Newton's name floats around. Gardner Minshew. So we have so many different names that are possibilities that can make their way into that room. And believe me, they're gonna. If you tender Kyle Allen and then you only have Tyler Heineke on they're gonna bring somebody in. It's not gonna be just a draft pick. So one of those guys. We got to get used to one of those names coming in because it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's gonna have to. The closer and closer we get to draft, I know it's only been a couple days since we last talked with everybody, but if Mac Jones happens to be sitting there at 19, or Kyle Trask, or some of these other Kyle Trask probably gonna slide back to the second round, but I mean, I would not mind trading back in that first round at all. Trading back to 24, 25, somewhere around there, and like you said, maybe getting another second round pick, maybe somehow stealing a first round pick next year, something like that. But yeah, if we're able to lock up a position of need, and it looks like those tackles aren't going to be here, I don't want to take somebody at 19 just to take somebody. If we don't have a tackle there, I don't want to take Kadarius Toney. I don't want to take what's his name out of Minnesota. Rashad Bateman or Rashawn Moore, something like that. There's two other wide receivers that we've been linked with. The guy out of Purdue, the wide receiver out of Purdue. I don't want to take one of those guys just to take them. So yeah, I absolutely want to slide back and see if we can there. Speaking of the wide receiver position, that's somewhere that we can that I want to move to as far as making some free agent moves. Now we've talked about Curtis Samuel a lot on this show, and I believe that's your number one target for wide receiver. That was mine for a long time too, but I think I'm shifting a little bit. I think I'd rather go after Corey Davis. I think he'd be my top pick. A little bit bigger, 6'3", about 220, 230, bigger body. And then we drafted Mario Rogers, put him in the slot, and bada bing, bada boom, we got a three-headed wide receiver monster in Terry McLaurin, Corey Davis, and Amari Rogers. Because Amari Rogers is similar in that kind of size and quickness as Curtis Samuel, where we had the Antoine Randall L. Santana Moss days where we didn't have any wide receivers over 6 foot. Terry McLaurin, I believe, is only around 6'1", 6'2", so he doesn't give us a ton of size, even though his athleticism is out of this world. But I'd rather go after the bigger body in Corey Davis and then draft, like I said, Amari Rogers or maybe somebody else in those later rounds to try to fill that slot spot.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about Corey Davis and the reasons that you'd be talking about him, I mean, you're talking about Cam Sims. And you're talking about, is Corey Davis that much better than Cam Sims? Is he that much better than Cam Sims? I think of Corey Davis, I think about maybe a number 3, not a true number 2. I don't see him as somebody that could come in and make the kind of impact we're looking for on offense. I think we have guys like that, that are about that level or maybe a little bit better. I don't know. And then we already know that the chemistry that we have with our receiving core now was not that bad, and it continued to get better throughout the season. Yeah. So, and not to mention, we're bringing in Kelvin Harmon, back as well. So we don't know what he's going to be able to give to us. So I think that we got to have, if we're going to go after somebody in free agency, again, and then we talked about it before, you got to go after the guy that you need. Just don't go after the new fancy name. I know when Kenny Galladay's name popped back up yesterday, everyone's like, oh. But you know why Detroit doesn't want him is because he's going to cost more than what he's worth. And he's demanding, whatever his agent, that's got to be the only reason. We've seen what he can do. We've seen the talent he has. And he should have a spot on any type of team, any type of offense. But obviously, they're going in a direction where they don't want to pay somebody, that much money. So which team does want to pay a guy that much money? I don't think we should be that one either. So I don't think that a name like Juju Smith-Schuster, I don't think his name would even fit in our culture right now, the way our culture is, our team first, culture, and then we have somebody out there that's doing TikTok dances on, and calling out the other teams all crazy. I don't think that fits our culture. I think if he did come in, his hair would, his hair would be the same color as everybody else's, and he'd be in place real quick, or he'd have Chase Young toss him from locker to locker. But he'd be losing more than his bike. I'll tell you that much. He'd be losing more than his bike if he came into Washington with that attitude. But yeah, that's the only thing. The problem I see with someone like Corey Davis or Kenny Galladay. And the price of Curtis. I don't even know what, a lot of people saying like 12, 13 mil, what Curtis Samuel would be demanding, maybe 14. For that price, I don't know if we swing for him that much either. I think that, again, we maybe possibly get, Amari Rogers in the draft, and then we see that also the Saints released Emmanuel Sanders. I guarantee you he's not going to demand that type of money. But again, you're going to get that small slot type receiver, someone that, who can perform. Emmanuel Sanders, still no slouch. So, yeah. If we're not going to spend, again, if it's not going to be Curtis Samuel at the right price, or if another name doesn't pop out, I know that was it N'Keal Harry is another one. I mean, then you're talking about, again, I think Cam Sims is better than him. I think that Isaiah Wynn is better than him. So I think that we have better options there at wide receiver than if we don't get the people that we need.
Yeah, Spotrac has Curtis Samuel. His market value calculated right around $12.4 million a year. They said you're looking at 4 years, close to $50 million to sign him. So I mean that's kind of the going rate for a good wide receiver. I think Kenny Galladay and Juju Smith-Schuster, they'd be closer to $20 million a year. And I definitely am not trying to pay that for somebody. So it's like you said, are you going to be getting what it's what are you going to be paying for what you're getting back? Corey Davis, they have his market value right around $9.8 million. So he'd be 4 years, almost $40 million a year. When you throw that in, I mean, you're saving almost $3.5 million.
How much are we paying Cam Sims? Not even $1 million. Not even $1 million. I mean, are you getting 9 times the Cam Sims?
That's true. That Cam Sims performed. No, that's a good point, and it's something that people need to take into, because, like you said, you see the big name, and you're like, oh shit, we got to go get that guy. It's like when you're playing your Madden franchise and you have the cap space turned off. You just go and sign the biggest name and just give them the biggest money possible.
Unlimited, $1 billion, $1 million, and I have everybody. Yes.
But so I mean, yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. You know, and like you said, Kelvin Harmon's still coming back. I think we got to see AGG come back and see what he can do. See if he can, because I mean, that's a one unfortunate thing. And I don't know if unfortunate's the right word, but like the tough spot is we have you know, quite a few unproven or unknown wide receivers. I can't even say unproven, just like unknown. We don't know what we have with them yet. So you know, if we did roll out with what we have now and maybe drafted one other guy, I think I would be okay with that. And then we could, especially because we weren't able to snag up an Allen Robinson, and he's obviously on the franchise tag. If he can't sign a long-term deal, which doesn't look like he wants to, you know, maybe we get another shot at him next year. But you know, so I think I if we didn't sign a wide receiver and ended up drafting Amari Rodgers, I know I keep pigeonholing him as the one, but that's who I would really like to get. I think I think that would be okay. I'd be all right with that.
And you know what? Devontae Smith keeps dropping further and further. I'd be 100% fine with taking him number 1 overall with our 19th pick. And so if he's sliding down the boards, and it's not because he's bad. It's just because, you know, people are starting to value these cornerbacks more and these tackles more and these other quarterbacks more. And so it kind of just you can't have everybody be everybody can't be a top 10 pick. So naturally some people are going to slide back. And, you know, and everyone has Detroit talking about, you know, most of them getting Micah Parsons, you know, as their linebacker. And listening to the coach this morning, you know, talk on Good Morning Football, saying, no, we're all in on all the quarterbacks. He's like, how could you be in the top 10 and not be looking at quarterbacks? You know, and then so I would not be surprised if they do that as well. And, you know, another interesting tidbit here, you know, just to go off of I know we kind of moved on from that, but the Dak Prescott situation, they should have a graphic today of, you know, I think it was the last 10 quarterbacks to win a Super Bowl, and the highest paid one was Tom Brady at $25 million. You know what I mean? And then, you know, and it's something I've said a long time. These big name, big deal teams don't win championships. You know, Patrick Mahomes got his deal after he won his championship. You know what I mean? It's those things just don't happen. It's because it's almost impossible. It's almost a fluke to be able to pay those type of people. It's like you have to have like the perfect storm of do it. For Dallas to do it, they have to have a perfect draft, or all, you know, even their 3 extra the comp picks they got the other day they have to be perfect. All of them have to come in and make an instant impact. That's the type of response you need when you go out there and you sign, you know, a quarter of your salary cap away to somebody. So it's just strategically thinking about how you're going to use this money in times to make your team better. So is quarterback, how important is it? Wide receiver, how important is it? And when you talk about wide receiver, as just to go back to what we were saying, the wide receivers didn't play that bad. Other than Cam Sims drops, I was never really mad at our wide receiver play last year.
Steven Sims drops.
Cam Sims. Steven Sims drops. There I go. But other than the Steven Sims drops, I was not, you know, I wasn't mad. It seems we got ourselves in bad situations because of our inconsistent quarterback play. We always have a different signal caller, and we'd always be behind the gun and third down, and you know, and bad, you know, bad situations. We were in a lot of bad situations. So it seems like once our guys, like when Taylor Heineke was playing well, when Alex Smith was having those 300-yard games, people were catching the balls that were getting thrown to them, and they were making plays with the balls in their hands. So I don't think we're in dire need of wide receiver where we need to go out there and splash on free agency.
No, yeah, I agree there. Like you said, I mean, if we don't go and snag one of these big time names, it's not going to be a huge loss. There's plenty of other spots that we could spend and make a big splash. While we're on the offensive side of the ball, a couple names that you already threw out at tight end, Hunter Henry, you know, would love to have him in the system. They have his market value right around $11 million a year, which, you know, for a good tight end, don't hate that. The other 2 guys that we mentioned, or the other guy that you mentioned was Jonnu Smith, who I would absolutely love. I mean, he did a great job in Tennessee, kind of splashed onto the scene, kind of went away and then came back. He's only 26 years old. Hunter Henry's 27. Now they have Jonnu Smith right around $8 million a year. So, you know, if you're going to spend the extra money, I would take Hunter Henry, obviously. And then another guy who is going to it's like, you know, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, and then not way down here, but pretty much, you know, a lot farther down is Gerald Everett, tight end from the Rams. Mm-hmm. Wide receiver, or excuse me, receiving first tight end. They have him right around $7.3 million. He was kind of always in the mix with Tyler Higbee. They'd kind of go back and forth, so was never really able to find his own fitting because they went to that 2 tight end system a lot. But if we're gonna spend a tight end, those are 3 names that I wouldn't mind spending. Hunter Henry for sure. We talked about him, like I said, off show. We talked about him, and he's definitely a guy that I would like to make a priority. But if not, it's so weird. Like I just don't know what I want. I don't know what I want. We have all this. It's like they always say it's like a kid in a candy store. You give a kid $20 to go to the candy store. It's like, well, which candy do I want? I don't know. I want them all, but I want to make sure I get the right one. So because I know I want to enjoy it, something like that. But Hunter Henry, if we don't go get a wide receiver, I think we need to sign a big time tight end. I think Hunter Henry is going to be that guy.
Oh, definitely. I 100% agree with you there. Hunter Henry is the guy. And just put it back in perspective for you. When you talk about the money there, you're talking about 11 million, you're talking about 9 million, and then you're talking about Corey Davis. Like, how does he even fit in with this conversation with either one of those other guys when you're talking about spending the money? I'd rather have either probably all 3 of those other guys, either Everett included, than Corey Davis on the team. I think he'd make a better impact. But yeah, I know Ron's got his eyes on. I mean, he loves tight ends. He loved Greg Olsen out there in Carolina, and I know I'm with the play of Logan Thomas out here and the focus at their offense. Scott Turner had with Logan Thomas. The tight end play has got to be a priority. So someone like Hunter Henry, I mean, if we're chasing after Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford, we have calls in to Hunter Henry right now. So hopefully we're a destination that he wants to go. I think it'd be more of that situation with him because I'm sure he's going to have his pick of whoever team he wants to play for that's willing to pay the money for him. So, so that's the unfortunate thing when it comes to someone like that. So, other than that, when you talk about tight ends, Logan Thomas played well. Jeremy Sprinkle's a great blocking tight end. I know we picked up our old hometown, what's the name of Swoops, and we have him. We still have Moss. We still have Moss on our practice squad. Thaddeus Moss, who knows what he can become. So again, if we're not getting someone like Hunter Henry or Jonnu Smith, we don't have to go out there and chase people and give them money that they don't deserve.
Yeah, see, this is where I kind of I do get conflicted because there are spots in our defense that we could improve, and we were already the number 2 defense in the league. And then obviously our offense wasn't very consistent. So because of, like you said, the inconsistency at play call at quarterback. So I feel like if we just improve that offense a little bit, this team could do a complete 180 as long as, that defense doesn't slip at all. So it's like, do we spend the money to fill the holes on defense of an already really good defense, or do we spend the money on like to
my dog's got a hairball back here. Sorry about that.
It was just funny because like you had leaned over and it kind of sounded like a fart, so I was like, damn.
Well, no. My next was a little stiff, and I heard my dog choke. I had to look and make sure he wasn't choking. But
it just looked funny because like you leaned over I thought you were trying to mute your mic or something, and I was like, oh, he did not do that.
He didn't make it. He didn't make it to the mic. No, I assure you guys, it was not gas. It was my dog choking on something back there.
But anyway, so yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I'm saying. Do we spend the money to fill in the holes of an already great defense, or do we spend the money to try to fill the holes of an offense that needs improvement? And so this is where I get conflicted. I'm not sure. I mean, it starts with the quarterback, and without any big moves at quarterback, I think obviously that wide receiver position, if need be, that tight end position, definitely that offensive line is where it comes in on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, and it's something that Ron said the other day that I really agree with, and I'm glad that he has that perspective because it makes me think that he's going to be even more selective of when he evaluates and who he goes after in free agency. And it's a saying I always talk about, and it's a saying I always use, and I forgot where I heard it from. It was one of my favorite sayings is, don't wake up on third and think you hit a triple. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just like, we won a weak division last year. Don't think that we're just some super calorie. This. Oh yeah, our team's perfect. We're division champs. We ain't gotta change much. No. There's improvements to be made on all parts of that team. We won a very weak division last year. So you look at our secondary. Our cornerbacks is that exactly how we want them. Our safeties we're pretty solid. We want them there. Linebackers definitely not. Defensive line we definitely are. So there's spots all over the place that if a name pops up. We haven't talked a lot about defense. We haven't talked about people like Kenny Vaccaro, or you said yourself, Malik Hooker, I believe, off camera. Janoris Jenkins, names like that are getting thrown out there right now. So, Do we have the best? Again, do we have the best player at each position that we can get and that we can afford? So, is there other places that we can improve on defense? Is that to talk about now, or is that to talk about after the first wave hits, or when?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Speaking of that defense, like I said, that linebacker, a guy that jumped out to me is he got released. He's coming off an injury. He will be ready for training camp. It's Quan Alexander. He's only 27 years old. Former first round pick. New Orleans released him, or excuse me, not a first round pick. He was a fourth round pick from LSU. But he was scheduled to make right around 13.5 million. But since he's coming off that injury, this could be a guy where he wants to take like a show me deal. Where it's like, hey, he's represented by Drew Rosenhaus, who we knew is a super agent and tries to get the best money for his guys. So if his deal isn't out there, that could be a guy that we could kind of, maybe steal for a year or two and see if we can plug him in and play. And like I said, a little bit of a show me deal. Hey, let me see what you got. Maybe it's an option for a second year. And if you perform really well and coming off that injury, hey, here's some big money. He's a guy that I would like to see at middle linebacker. We could maybe make a run at Reggie Ragland. He's a guy that always comes up whenever we talk about linebackers, for me anyway. And I know you talked about Kyle Van Noy on Monday's show. That's definitely, he's another guy, but he was kind of more of a 3-4 middle linebacker. We're running the 4-3, but he definitely brings some experience to the team. And obviously some winning experience being with New England. So those are a couple guys at linebacker that jump out to me that I would mind taking shots at.
No, I mean, I'm again, for the right price, any of those names, would be good to come in and take a shot at, because I believe we don't just need one linebacker. Especially with the retiring of Thomas Davis. We had some good play, obviously out of Cole Holcomb, but I mean, other than that, I mean, is Jeff Bostic or John Bostic? I think John Bostic, is he going to be the answer there either? We have a lot of, we have room for a lot more growth at linebacker. And you have other veterans that we want to talk about if you want to keep it on defense, of Richard Sherman, Patrick Peterson. Can they come in? Can they come in to make an impact on a relatively young defense? They want to come in here and get some. This defense. If you're a defensive player, it's like just like an offensive player. You want to go play with Tom Brady. If it's a defensive player, you want to come play with some hungry people like this defense right here. So if you're a true defensive player and been on a Legion of Boom type defense, or Patrick Peterson there with Arizona wants to be on one, it's definitely a destination you might be looking after. So there's so many names out there, but a lot of these names though, on defense that we're talking about right now, I would still say second wave. I would not be ones I would be jumping on first. I'm gonna say on defense, there's not a name left I would jump on first wave. I would wait.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I mean, you talk about Legion of Boom defense. Shaquille Griffin, he got released by the Seahawks. He's a guy that could come in and play corner and fill that spot for Ronald Darby, and he's a fairly young guy too. He's only 26. But yeah, there are so many. Like I said, Malik Hooker, he's only 25. He's very young as well. Vernon Hargraves, former first round pick, only 26. So there's some good young talent available as well. So, if we kind of take a back seat, like you said, if Ron kind of has his ideas of guys that he wants and guys that he has quote unquote locked in already, I'm going to take his word for it, and we'll see how it goes, come Monday, come Tuesday, whenever it starts happening. So, it'll be fun. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and we'll really get things rolling probably next week into the end of next week.
Yep, that's what I think. It's going to be an exciting weekend to watch as some of these things start popping out and names you never even thought of. The Deshaun Watson requesting a trade, like making it official, and Russell Wilson, it's just so many things are going to happen. There's going to be one huge move that's going to shock us all. I know it. There's going to be at least one more huge, with all the speculation going on, something's got to give, so be prepared.
Absolutely. Well, that'll do it for us here today. As always, again, make sure you're subscribed and have that notification bell rung here on YouTube. Find us anywhere on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts by searching Allies Behind Enemy Lines. We're on Twitter at AlliesBEL. On Facebook, Allies Behind Enemy Lines Podcast. You can find us all there as well. Find all our old episodes, our new episodes, whatever you want, whatever you need. It's all there. Make sure you like, rate, subscribe, review. Tell a friend. Share it with your friends, and tell me you listen to the best Washington football podcast based out of Texas, around. But until Monday, you guys have a great weekend. We'll keep an eye on what's going on and happenings around the NFL. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We will see you guys again on Monday.